So it's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Michael Lund. I'm a current student here at the Monterey Institute of International Studies. Unfortunately, I have two teammates here, but not here. One is in DC and one is actually living in Azerbaijan. So this is kind of like a virtual business that we're starting here. And so I'm here to present their journey on from the other side of the world. So the name of our business is Firsthand International. And to start off with, I just want to tell you a little story. I just came back from the Peace Corps. I was there for 3 years, serving in the country of Azerbaijan. And while I was there, I was living with a group of people called lesbies. Now, this is actually taken by me. All the pictures you're going to see today were taken during my service there. And these people were called lesbies. They lived in these mountain communities for thousands of years, and they have a unique culture, traditions, and lifestyle seen nowhere else in the world. Now, while I was there, the country of Azerbaijan broke ground on a brand new ski resort. And they decided to build it right in the middle of lesbian country. Now, you're going to see here a few villages I was very close to. This is Lazat. Over here you have Amir. And they decided to build it right in the middle of these villages. And unfortunately, hundreds of people were told that they had to leave their homes. Food prices skyrocketed. Pasture lands for grazing their sheep were gone. They were forced to sell their homes and leave. And it's estimated that over 90% of the profits from these new ski resort is going to go back to business owners in Baku. Meaning that people in this area of the world are going to have to put up with negative effects of big tourism and not have anything to show for it. So I took a few pictures before. This is after they decided to start renovating here. People in these homes were told that they had to leave halfway through the project. And you can see that the scenery has drastically changed. Now, in reality, this is a problem that's happening all over the world. In emerging nations, we're seeing there's a very high rate of tourism growth. This year, for the first time ever, in 2012, it's going to be 1 billion tourists traveling abroad on vacation, on holiday. By 2020, that number is going to be 1.6 billion. And the majority of that growth, as you're seeing, is taking place in emerging nations. And most of these countries are competing with each other now to try and gather the most tourists that they can in the shortest amount of time. And what that means is government projects just like the one I'm showing you. In light of these facts, my team and I believe there needs to be a new standard of tourism, one that protects local culture, preserves the environment, and provides economic income to rural communities. We see that as being community-based tourism. Now, what is community-based tourism? This is a form of tourism in which locals in rural communities provide services to tourists and gain economically from them. So as a community-based tourist, you would go into a local community, you'd stay in a local homestay, you'd have food with that family, you'd experience their authentic culture, and decide firsthand what that people group looks like. Now, this is where Firsthand International comes in. A lot of these communities can offer these services great, but they don't know how to market themselves, and they don't have the business savvy to get the word out about what they have. So Firsthand International, our goal is to help these community-based tourism ventures succeed in a highly competitive global marketplace. These are two things that we do. We have two market groups. First is CBTVs, which are community-based tourism ventures. The second is the travelers. What we do is we help CBTVs raise their quality of standards, help them to communicate with the outside world, and give them a good management structure to work from so that their business can thrive. And after we create these CBTVs, we make the travel more accessible to the guests by having an online platform in which that guest can book a stay at a homestay and see pictures of the place that they're going to be visiting. We also have certification standards so that the guest can be sure that the place that they're going is going to have the quality standards that they want. So here's an example of things that we would offer. This is one of our managers right now in a place called Sheki. He speaks English, he's bilingual, and he's always a phone call away from the guest. If there's any problem, they can go to him. We have online booking, as I mentioned. Some of our homestays even have Wi-Fi. So people with their Blackberries and their telephones can stay connected. And we have high certification standards, particularly for the bedding and the bathroom, which is most important for most travelers. Now, what about the revenue model? Well, we generate revenue from two sources. First is the tourist, second is from the homestays. From the homestays, we gather consulting fees, commissions on websites. Now, neither of these are really coming out of their pockets. Consulting fees are generated through grants and donations from people who are giving through one of our nonprofit foundation partners in Azerbaijan. And the second is commission on web sales. Now, the reason that we do this, we take 15% from every sale, but that number is actually added to the final price, so it's built into the price. So really, it's coming out of their pocket, but it's really the tourists who's paying. So the communities aren't going broke. And from these people, we're looking to generate tour sales, visa assistance, phone and equipment rentals for their time. This could be camping, skiing equipment, transportation fee if they need a ride from the airport, and craft and souvenir sales. So as you can see, we have multiple revenue streams coming in. We've narrowed down our field to 4 main client groups that we see using our services. First is backpacker and budget and expats, and we've really categorized them based on the level of maintenance that we'd have to give these guests and the amount of profitability they have. For our emerging initial market, we're looking to target backpackers and expats. In the growth market, we're looking to world explorers and special interest groups. World explorers is really an interesting category for me because we're looking at baby boomers who are just now reaching retirement age. They're going to be wanting to see new places, do new things. And all of these guests we're envisioning are going to want a sustainable project and product. So what is our experience? Well, we started this kind of business. It's called CBT Azerbaijan. It's currently in its 2nd year right now. And we've been marketing to our first 2 client groups. This is actually one of our flyers that we started with. In 2010, we did market research on the expat community that was living in the capital of Azerbaijan at the time. We found out what their requirements were, and the type of product they wanted, and the level of price that they were willing to pay for that. And in 2011, we launched. We started with only 3 homestays in 2 regions of the country, and by the end of our first season, we'd risen to 10 communities. We had 8 managers in those communities. We raised over $7,000 for local communities, in which they helped send their children to school, helped to improve their homes, and generally improve their lifestyle. This is what I just mentioned. 80% of everything we gathered stayed in those local communities. We hosted over 150 guests. We're looking to double that figure in year 2. So what are our competitive advantages? Well, the first is that no one's really doing this in this area of the world. Azerbaijan is a post-Soviet country, and so a lot of the people there haven't heard of these community-style aspects. So we have a first-mover advantage in a rapidly growing market. We're a team of U.S. Peace Corps volunteers, which means that we have contact with other Peace Corps volunteers currently in the field who have access to local contacts and know the right places that we can stay. We understand the East and the West. I kind of like to vision it as having 1 foot in each place. We know who our customers are because we are from the West. We also know the client group and what their requirements are. And we feel like we have a really unique aspect in that regard. And local contacts. This is my friend Shafali. Everywhere I go in Azerbaijan, I have a place to stay. It's not a new environment to me, so we can really leverage that aspect in this competitive advantage. So where do we want to go from here? Well, we're looking to establish First Hand International as the commercial arm for the project that we already started. So CBT Azerbaijan is really an association of homestay owners and managers. But we want to separate that and come in as a commercial entity to offer them our business services and really start marketing to the public for this product. By 2013, we want to build the consistency and quality of our CBTV sites and give them accreditation and standards that the client's going to appreciate. This is the interesting part. By 2014, we want to establish CBT Georgia. And I'm going to show you a map in a minute in case you're a little unclear about where these countries are. But Georgia is right next to Azerbaijan. They've been having incredible growth lately in the tourism sector. We want to start building tours into our homestays. Right now, what we have is an online platform for booking a homestay. But in the future, we'd like to make tours around this so that we can connect our different communities and allow for a value-added product to the customer, which would also have higher revenue for our own company. We want to integrate those tours in 2016 with CBT Georgia and have caucus tours spanning both countries. And by the end of 2017, we're looking to partner with CBT Central Asia, which again I'll show you on the map. And eventually, we'd like to offer a Silk Road CBT tour. Like I mentioned, Georgia has incredible growth. They've seen 300% tourism rise since 2006. They started with 760,000 tourists that year, and now they're at 2.8 million. And I was just reading a report last week, 2012, in the first quarter, they saw another 40% rise. So Georgia has even dropped their visa requirements for Europeans and Israelis, which has been really the fuel of that growth. Eurovision 2012. This is American Idol of Europe. It's where every country has a singer or a group that competes for a prize. And this year it's actually in Azerbaijan, funny enough. And that's happening this May. And they're expecting 30,000 visitors for the first time in that country and 125 million viewers throughout all of Europe, which is going to put that place on the map. And we feel like that's going to lead to more tourism growth in the area. There are a few budding CBT projects, like I mentioned, in Central Asia. I'll get back to that in a little bit. And the United Nations World Tourism Organization has just started a Silk Road project in which they're working from a top level down for the governments to start opening up more in that area for tourism. So, what is our vision for the Silk Road? If you see by this map, Azerbaijan and Georgia are just a little speck over here, but they're sort of right in the center of where the Silk Road comes through. Obviously, we're not going to be able to go to Iran right now, so this main road now comes up through Turkmenistan and goes across the Caspian into Azerbaijan, over through Turkey to Europe. So what we envision, within about 10 years, we'd like to have CBT tours happening all the way from Turkey and Istanbul, across Georgia, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and all the way over to China. It's not a small feat by any means, but if we choose our path right, we're going to be able to have this done if we only develop it in 4 countries. Kyrgyzstan already has a thriving CBT network. We've begun one in Azerbaijan. Georgia's not going to be very difficult for us. The only question is the stance. And, you know, it's good to have fun to go in these kind of environments. So what are our financials? We're only seeking startup funding of $50,000. Now, our costs are going to be very low for this. We're Peace Corps volunteers. We know how to survive on a very low budget. And so our expenses are going to be minimal. We envision a burn rate of only $2,500 per month. This is mainly to pay the salaries of our local workers who will be working in the commercial end of our office. We envision revenues of $150,000 by year 5. After we merge with Georgia, these numbers go up. And as you can see, the number of our homestays to 240 after 5 years. Break-even point's going to come between year 4 and 5. By this chart, you can see that our costs sort of spike here because of the merge with Georgia. But as our tours break in here, we envision that our sales are going to go up by quite a bit. We're really looking to get our gross margin up as a percentage, above 40%. And what that's really going to come from is the tour sales. Right now, the commissions, as we said, 80 to 85% are going to stay in the local community. But the value-added expense of starting a tour is really going to bring this gross margin up. Who's our team? This is the team that I was speaking of earlier. This is me. I'll be done with my MBA here in May, actually this month. I'll be studying Russian this summer to try and prepare to go into other countries in post-Soviet areas. Mason Wiley lives in Washington, D.C. He'll be the treasurer and secretary. He's going to take care of our legal issues, our administrative issues from the United States end. And he's going to be, he also has experience starting a nonprofit in South Sudan. Tim McNaught is our creative director. He's currently working in Baku in the banking sector. He's going to be in charge of our website, all of our online marketing. In particular, I'd like to introduce to you John Gertsen. He's the director of a group called Norwegian Humanitarian Enterprise, and they are the NGO in Azerbaijan that we've partnered with on this project. They're going to give us access to the grants and the donations that we need to push forward our capacity building operations in the villages. As I said before, Norwegian Humanitarian Enterprises signed a partnership agreement with them in January 2012. They're going to give us the resources like I mentioned. They also have contacts in a lot of rural areas, both in Azerbaijan and in Georgia. They're going to be our monitor and evaluator, and they provide education to our managers. So really essential partnership right there. And the United States Peace Corps, they're not an official partner of us, but we've had a lot of support from them in Azerbaijan. And 6 of current Peace Corps volunteers are now looking after CBT Azerbaijan while we're away. We've had recent inquiries from volunteers in Moldova and Georgia about our idea and how they can partner with us to make it happen all along this route. So if there are any questions, I'm willing to answer them. This is our contact information, and I appreciate your time today.
I'm a little confused. Are you a travel agency or a consulting firm?
We are both, actually. So we consult the local communities. What we've done is we've set up sort of a separate entity with First Hand International, in which we're taking and booking the tourists. We're working with the CBT Azerbaijan Association, which is Peace Corps volunteers and the local managers, in giving them capacity to take it out to the rural communities. So we're kind of playing both parts, but what we're going to focus on is the commercial end with First Hand International. Yes?
What is your legal structure?
The legal structure of this is we're starting this actually as a nonprofit in the United States, but we're going to be a for-profit company in Azerbaijan. So we'll be able to collect grants and donations on this end to help support our operations in Azerbaijan. But on the ground, it's actually a for-profit business.
Are you going to be a corporation, LLC, or what?
Yes, LLC.
So a 501c3 here based where?
In the United States,
Where?
Washington, D.C.
Washington.
Yes.
So you will be headquartered in Washington, D.C.?
Yes.
And then so most of your teams are here in the United States?
Our Treasury and Secretary will be in Washington, D.C. for the long term. He'll be controlling things from there. I'm going back to Azerbaijan, inshallah. And my partner, Tim McNaught, is actually living in Azerbaijan right now. Yes.
You mentioned baby boomers. I'm of the baby boomer generation. And my idea of roughing it, from what I saw here, is booking a hotel without room service.
Okay.
I mean, I'm looking at this and saying, okay, I'm a little past that, and I'm looking at your numbers, and the nonprofit is definitely the way. You're talking about a profit company. Where is the profit going to be? If you're talking $90,000 in 5 years,
Yes. That's revenue. So the profit would be about 40% of that from our margin. We're looking to get most of our profit from tour sales. And one of the reasons why we're doing this project is to try and bring community-based tourism into mainstream tourism. So really focusing on the certification and the quality standards in our homestays. One of the things we mentioned in the plan is we're going to create a rotating fund in which our families can borrow from to improve their homes, specifically in the bedding and the bathroom categories, because we don't want our guests being uncomfortable. We actually did a market research survey, like I mentioned, in 2010, with a lot of the expats community living in Baku. What they said, the things that would demotivate them from coming the most is the comfort factor. The second demotivating factor is if they didn't have a Western toilet. All right, it was that important to these guests, just to have a Western toilet. And so getting a new toilet into the house, getting a new bed into the house, putting those online and showing them as pictures really improved and picked up our services by August. And we saw a lot of those people who didn't want to come at first relent and say, wow, well, I'm not going to be uncomfortable, and I'm going to help a local community during my stay. And this is really just changing the idea of tourism in the minds of people so that we don't see more of the destruction like I showed you right from the beginning of this.
well, also, I don't see a lot of infrastructure too.
Right.
And I'm thinking that without the infrastructure, because you come to somebody my age and say, okay, we're going to take you to this place, jump on a horse, good luck to you.
The situation in Azerbaijan right now is one in which the government is investing billions in infrastructure. And just in the 3 years that I was there, between 2009 and 2012, the roads up to the place that I was living have vastly improved, mostly because of the ski resort they're building. We're not going to be competing against the ski resort. We're looking to combine our services with it so that we can bring more income into that local community. And the infrastructure will be there, 3 or 4 more years.
Okay, but if you're trying to bring tourism to it, ski area brings tourism. A lot of people like to ski.
Right, which is a good place to start this, because the tourists will already be coming. We're gonna have a captive market. Yes?
But on the other hand, I would like to give it a try.
Yeah?
Yeah, if I go to
Absolutely.
that area, I'll call you.
Put my email down. You can be our first Silk Road tour guest.
So are your customers happy? I mean, people, tourists happy?
One of the main aspects that we're trying to focus on is customer relationship building. All right, and this has to do with post surveys after their stay. Every customer that came through had positive things to say, but also advice to us. I mean, they knew it was our first year, they were very forgiving, and so they were all giving us advice on how to improve our product. And people coming through who know that their revenue, the revenue they're giving to us is going to support local communities, we're all very happy to stay there. They left with a good feeling because they knew the money that they paid was going to people who really needed it. And they all wanted us to succeed in that. And so I'm envisioning once we get into the higher range market, like the baby boomers, like the group stays, it's gonna be a little more challenging. There's some more maintenance involved. Not everyone's gonna leave happy. But we're really focusing on getting those survey results back after each stay and filtering that information back to our families so they know how they can adapt in the future. Yes.
But what is there to draw someone? Like, if you go to a foreign country, you have draws, like you go to Italy, why? Because you want to see the Vatican, you want, what is it? I'm looking at those pictures and I'm thinking, okay, that's almost where I live, but, you know, I'm just, what is there to draw tourism to it?
Right. I wish I could talk for a half hour about that actually. Azerbaijan has a lot to offer in tourism. And one of the things of why we want to go towards tours in the end is so that we can have, say, a 2-week tour in which the client is staying for 9-10 days in homestays, but also 4 days in a nice hotel so they can sort of relax between homestays. And those hotels are going to be near the main tourist attractions. So we see that most clients don't want to come to just a rural community. If you're going to pay, $2,000 to fly to Azerbaijan, you want to see the main tourist attractions while you're there. And so that's what we're trying to bundle it into. So you get to see.
Well, what are they?
In Azerbaijan, the main tourist attractions, it's called the Land of Fire. It's been the main energy exporter for the past 60 years. They have a mountainside that burns, so through natural gas. I mean, there's natural gas seeping out of the ground so much that this mountainside's actually burning. They have a thing called the Maiden Tower, which is about 1,500 years old. It's their main tourist attraction. You can climb to the top. They have relics there from Viking days. I mean, they have an old city which is surrounded by old walls that are 1,500 years old. I mean, it's a very interesting place, and they're really putting a lot of money into renovating it.
Well, shouldn't you be showing that to draw people? Because what I'm seeing and what you're planning, I'm not being critical, but I'm looking at that and saying, okay, why would I want to go there? I mean, what's there for me? What's historical? What's cultural? I mean, to go, it's almost like when you're talking about living with the people, it's like a foreign exchange student for tourism.
Right.
Does your website provide a little bit more of a lure?
Yeah, actually, if you want to write it down, it's cbtazerbaijan.com. And you can check us out online. It's very good advice about getting more of the mainstream tourism attraction pictures on there. So we'll work on that.
I was thinking the same thing.
Okay.
Because your target market of baby boomers is very ignorant of what this region has to offer, because it was off limits to us. And so there's an inherent cultural hurdle that you have to overcome to reach your target market. And that the post-Soviet states are very foreign to your average baby boom, American baby boomer.
Right.
And what the region has to offer. So I think a stronger lure of the resources in the area of why people want to go there would be an important part of the first part of your business plan.
Okay.
And also, I wouldn't mention that burning pill either, because too many people remember San Bruno, okay? Burning pill is kind of what they want to hear right now.
Right.
But if there's hot springs associated or something,
Yeah.
those type of
There's
thermal
some
spas.
mud volcanoes
Yes,
that
so-
you can get into and bathe in
so-
as well. So
I think that's an important part of your sales tool that is missing.
Thank you.
Yeah, but very well thought out, well researched. You did an excellent presentation.